Imagine what a smartphone in 1903 Van Meter could have accomplished. Instead of shouldering shotguns and blasting away at an 8-foot winged creature with a four-head horn that cast a beam of light, panicked citizens could have quickly posted a YouTube video. Case closed. Monster confirmed. Camping out all night 110 years later, at an old coal mine outside of town, where the alleged creature is believed to have lived, a researcher of odd legends is still trying to get sight of it. Chad Lewis survived the assignment. He was not abducted nor scooped up by flying creatures, but he has a good story to tell. In his wanderings of Van Meter, he unearthed a legend that was dying out with the old-timers. The story offers a glimpse of rural Ohio history and lore. The superstitious mindset of the turn of the last century oddly mirrors a resurgent 21st century trend of Bigfoot hunting and paranormal investigating that populate cable television today. Lewis also has appeared on network and cable shows to discuss his monster alien chasing across the globe, but the Minneapolis 38-year-old said he was particularly captivated by a creature he dubbed the Van Meter Visitor. He purposely chose a non-threatening name. One shouldn't assume the winged creature did not come in peace. Over a series of nights in the fall of 1903, several respected and prominent men of Van Meter reported a half-human, half-animal with enormous smooth bat wings flying about. It let off a powerful stench and scared the daylights out of them because it moved at speeds never seen before, and it shot a blinding light from its horned head. Shots were fired each time, first by implement dealer U.G. Griffith as it flew across building tops. The monster shrugged them off like a minor nuisance. The next night, the town doctor and bank cashier Peter Dunn separately saw the creature and opened fire. Dunn even took a plaster cast of the great three-toed tracks. The following night, O.V. White, reportedly a dead eye with a gun, was awakened from his slumber in his quarters above the hardware store and shot at the creature that was perching atop a telephone pole. This awakened Sidney Gregg, who had been sleeping in his store nearby. Gregg said the monster hopped like a kangaroo. Even the local high school teacher saw it and deemed it some sort of antediluvian monster. It seems there's never a decent pitchfork and torch gathering these days, but back then, townsmen were not averse to taking up arms and forming a posse. So to the northwest side of the Van Meter they charged, near the old brickyard, where J.L. Platt Jr. heard a noise down by the abandoned coal mine. Presently, the noise opened up again, as though Satan and a regiment of imps were coming forth for battle. According to an article in the Des Moines Daily News on October 3, 1903, the monster appeared, joined by a smaller version. In a brilliant light, they sailed away, only to return in the morning, where the men had gathered to rid the earth of them, with their firepower heard far and wide. The reception they received would have sunk the Spanish fleet, but aside from unearthly noise and peculiar odor, they did not seem to mind it, but slowly descended the shaft of the old mine, never to be seen again. I believe there is a God, so I believe there is a demon. Lewis found the article and was struck by the fact that such prominent men would put their names to such a story. These weren't town drunks, he said. He came to Van Meter, and with the help of local librarian Julianne Walker, also found the legend had survived the generations in the town's Continental Book. Old-timers remember it, she said, though their opinions of its authenticity vary. Those guys wouldn't have wanted the publicity, Walker said of eyewitness accounts. Was the Van Meter visitor real? It depends on your belief system. I know there is a good, and I know there is an evil, she said. I believe there is a good, so I believe there is a demon. I'm saying it was evil. Walker even drove the gravel road out to the abandoned brick plant after he consulted with Lewis. Quote, I never wanted to go up there again. I tell you that, she said. I tried to back up the car and I don't know if it was loose gravel, but I couldn't back up right away. I'm thinking, what is going on? I'm getting out of here. Lewis made the rounds in his research, finding strange stories in Van Meter, ghosts at the old high school, and a basement of the town bar, and serpents in the river. None to his surprise. Intersecting geographical elements, he says, are said to have uncanny energy. The Raccoon River branches meet near the town. Quote, I still thought this would be fun but short, he said. We would find out this is a hoax, no doubt in my mind. He abandoned his career at the non-profit to chase the paranormal, but his master's degree in psychology came in handy. He gives dozens of presentations each year and has written several books. One is Van Meter Visitor, with co-authors Noah Voss and Kevin Lee Nelson, which launched in 2013. When he first started his presentations, people would approach him and privately tell their own stories of monsters or hauntings. Quote, "Now people raise their hand and tell their story. It's more socially acceptable," Lewis said. "We really crave some new type of adventure. You can go to the same hotels and restaurants and you don't know what city you're in. So people are looking for that little adventure, that's something different to seek out," end quote. Yet strange creatures appear in local folklore throughout recorded history. Quote, "There is a long history of belief in giants, particularly in North America, and among some Native American populations," said Zora Zimmerman, who has taught folklore classes at Iowa State University. Quote, "A legend has a cycle, usually starting with very real eyewitness accounts that may be true, but are unexplained, so the legend grows," end quote. Lewis grew up near Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where several UFO sightings bubbled up in the 1960s and 70s. Quote, "When I started, I was just fascinated with what makes people believe or not. Over the years, it's changed a bit. Now I'm just interested in the cause as an effect," he said. "After nearly 20 years, I am left with more questions than answers. Every time I have a theory or explanation, I'm back to zero." In other words, he didn't dismiss the possibility, local lore possibly, eyewitness memory errors. Lewis ran through the likely scenarios. A hoax was dismissed. What dressed-up prankster could survive the firepower? A strange unknown creature could have emerged from the mines, but there was no proof of it. He's still hoping that plaster cast is in the Van Meter attic. Quote, "It was an era when anything was possible. Science was starting to gain momentum. In fact, they had just discovered the mountain gorilla, so the beast in the jungle was real," he said. "People were open to the fact that anything could happen." He found little more than the legend, but in visiting the mine location, he also found unease.